Hello, everyone. My name is Todd Wall, and welcome to Communication Makeover, where we believe that intentional communication will lead to the breakthrough that you're looking for, both in your business and in your life. Today's episode could honestly be relabeled The Confessions of an Introvert, because I can really speak from myself. What we're talking about today, Deirdre is going to be coaching someone on the tension and anxiety around going to networking events. If she's anything like me, I my head hurts going into it. My heart starts pounding. Honestly, most situations I try to avoid it altogether. But the reality is we have to find ways of getting past this barrier of meeting new people. When in reality, it's not as bad as we think it is. We just have to have a strategy in place, know ahead of time who do we want to be in that situation, and how do we really want to show up. What's the outcome, the clear outcome that we actually need? When we're intentional about those things, the puzzle pieces start to magically come together. And in this coaching session with Deirdre, you're going to watch that magic as we go through awareness, then discovery, and then get tactical about how to really make this thing happen. We all deal with this tension, so I don't want to delay any longer. Here is Deirdre. Here we go.
Well, tell me what's on your mind today so we can take a little adventure together.
Yeah, we were talking just not too long ago about networking. I'm an independent consultant. I run my own business. I'm fortunate enough to have lots of great referrals, but somewhere along my communications path, I kind of lost the networking skill, if I ever even had it. Has just never been a strong suit of mine. And I'm hoping you can help me get to the next level.
Well, that's the beauty of coaching, Michelle, is that we're going to go on an adventure. You'll share openly and you'll figure it out as you go along. So I'm going to ask you questions and you just tell me what strikes you and how your feelings change as we
Okay,
continue on this journey. So first
sounds great.
question, you've been in communications and I know that because we've worked together in the past. But has it always been the same kind? Have you always been a consultant or have you been in other parts of the communications industry?
No, I've done a little bit of everything. So my first career was as a daily newspaper reporter, which seems like it would be very easy to go up and talk to people because I spent more than 5 years doing that every day. And then I transitioned into kind of classic PR account work, a lot of media relations, a lot of client engagement. Before, I did that for 20 years before striking out on my own as sort of a high level consultant. And I've done some marketing work in there too. So I've really been on every side of the industry. But when I think of how I got into PR, I kind of skipped those early days, right? Like I was never AE, to use the nomenclature. I was never a PR intern. And I just never did the event work that so many people kind of get their feet wet with. So to me, like, I feel like it's a little bit of a detriment to me because I haven't been in those rooms as often, haven't had to really work that skill. I've just sort of fast tracked to the top. And usually when I'm meeting with someone, it's because they've been referred to me. So they know who I am. They kind of have an idea of what they want. But really kind of going out and pressing the flesh and doing my elevator pitch, things I consult on all day long, or some of the skills that are maybe a little rusty with me.
Okay, this is good to know. When you have to go to a type of event that's different than what you've laid out. For example, you've said that you were the account executive, you worked with clients, so you were client facing at an agency,
Mm-hmm.
and you sort of always had referrals. What about there must have been times where you would go out to different events, whether your company sent you or maybe you even chose to. Talk a little bit about when you did have to go out.
Uh, my strategy is sort of duck and cover. Like if there's some
Okay.
task that I can do to keep myself busy, I'm happy to do that. Whether that's, handing out name tags or whatever it could be. So, but really like going out to with the purpose of meeting new people is just a very uncomfortable position for me. So some of the strategies I've deployed in the past have been bringing along a friend or, especially a really outgoing friend has worked very well for me, kind of let them do the heavy lifting. Or just, if I'm somewhere with a client, like I just give them 110% of my attention, make sure they have everything they need to do to be successful. And usually I can meet some people that way.
Michelle, is it different types of events? So when we talk about networking and or being at an event, you said that you would duck for cover and hand out, if it was name tags or whatever you're doing. Is it always the same kind of event or are they different? And do you feel certain way about one type of event versus another, or is it just the
So
same feeling?
I think the hardest one for me is when you're doing like a general business event. So I was recently at a women's leadership conference in Milwaukee, which was wonderful, but it was 1,000 people, and really all they had in common were that they were women in business in the Midwest. So that to me is like a really challenging environment because there's not sort of that instant connectivity of, oh, we work in commercial real estate or we work in financial services or we work in PR, where you have sort of, you can kind of narrow it down. So you're going into these or I'm going into these conversations completely blind, right? What people do on a day-to-day basis, how comfortable they are with kind of making that small talk. It's like a very wide skill set, right? And there isn't that sort of natural jumping off point. So that is sort of the worst case scenario for me. And I think it's also difficult when I'm with maybe like one or two other people. So there's sort almost a comfort in being flying totally solo. It's like go make a friend, go make a connection, have someone to talk to, bounce around. There's no sort of embarrassment factor if there's no one there to witness it. But having a few other friends or colleagues almost is like it's like too much of a security blanket, where I find it's even harder to kind of break out of that group or talk to someone who maybe isn't directly connected to them. I don't want to feel like I'm like hiding behind someone all day at the networking event,
Okay.
kind of like, oh, you go, right? You don't want to be a shadow.
Let's discuss a little bit. You mentioned the embarrassment factor. You're at an event, and this one had 1,000 people. And with 1,000 people there, the probability that they all know each other is very small. That's what I'm thinking. So you're at this event.
Yes.
What are you feeling when you step in? What strikes you about the women that you're seeing who are around you? Are they different? Are they similar to you? Talk to me a little bit about what would be embarrassment.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing is just like being overwhelmed by the scope, right? 1,000 people is a lot to have in any
Mhm.
type of hall. So I start to notice kind of who's already matched up, who knows each other, who's like waving from across the room because they're excited to see someone. And I try to find the people who are not doing that, right? But to me, it's I don't it, to me it's always been embarrassing to be like, hi, I'm Michelle, I'm in public relations. Like there's like a cringe factor there. I think because I don't know why actually. It just feels I've never been like overly salesy. I've always been just kind of someone who does good work, keeps my head down, try to be personable, but like it's a very uncomfortable spot. And while I know intellectually that most people feel that way about networking, it doesn't make it feel any different in the moment.
Well, then let's pursue that for a second. That most people probably feel that way about walking up to somebody else. Have you ever been in a situation where someone has walked up to you, and can you share that feeling?
Oh, sure. So often I don't, there's no judgment about it, right? Like that's what you're there to do. So it's just trying to, for me, when someone approaches me, I want to kind of make that connection. But what I found is that people who are very outgoing at networking kind of have their spiel ready. Like they're, it feels like they're assessing you for what you can do for them, which again, like makes total sense if you're like speed dating for business. But it doesn't feel like a real connection to me when someone's like, hi, I'm so and so, I do this, I'm going to this event across town. Like it feels like it's very rushed and they're trying to move on to the next thing. Or they're, occasionally it's that they have a very clear goal that they're trying to achieve. They want to meet so many people, or they're looking for someone to help them with, especially when you're in like a PR adjacent networking event, they're looking for a specific type of person, or they want to get connected to someone else. So it feels like a very like fast track to like getting to that goal, and you kind of miss the niceties in between. I would be very happy with the niceties in between.
Okay, well that's good to know.
Deirdre, the clarity on that conversation, I can see the puzzle pieces coming together. I want you to know I identify with a duck and cover, like she talked about. It's that scenario of if we're not intentional, we'll be there, but not actually be there. So like we go through the pain of being there, but we don't accomplish anything. And so that's one of the things I was hearing uncovering just a little bit in that.
Yes, I think there's a little bit of pain for all of us when we go out there networking. What I was trying to do with Michelle was to get her to talk about, was it one type of situation? What do you like when people come up to you?
Yeah.
Hopefully, peeling back the layers a little bit so that she could say, "Oh, I don't mind this," or "Well, I don't like this so much." And she's starting to get there. She's starting to realize that people have a strategy, and
Yeah.
that's what we're going to see unravel.
Absolutely. I love it. All right, everybody, stick with us. It's just going to get better from here. The awareness has begun. Now let's go into discovery and begin to get tactical. Stick with us. We'll be right back.